All right. Once again, today it's October 24th, and this is our second episode or September. Man, I went a month ahead of that's how busy it's been today. All right. It's our second episode today, or we're on season 2, episode 9 of Meet Your Coffee Roaster. And tonight we're going to be taking it back in time to, I think, episode 1 or episode 2 or 3, I believe Brian was on. Brian Keezer from Unrest Coffee in Hampton, Maine. I think I said it right. Up there, right by Bangor. We're going to talk to him about what he's got going on at Unrest. But if you're listening to the podcast, thanks for tuning in. This one's going to be posted a week from now. I'm going to post the one from this morning up already so y'all can check it out. And I'm going to mute my phone. But once again, thanks for joining in to the Common Grounds podcast and the Meet Your Coffee Roaster series. Let's kick it off with a little bit of Dom Coors. Hey, Brian, what's up, man?
Hey, how we doing?
Good. You know, every time I do it, every time I sit down, I'm thinking, you know what? Mute my phone because as soon as you go live,
right,
I get like 16 notifications that, oh, I'm live. Well, thanks for letting me know, phone. I knew I was live when this started. But how are you tonight, man?
I'm doing well.
How'd
Just
the
had baseball practice for my son, so I'm just arriving here, but doing well.
Awesome. How's the weather up in Maine? Have y'all hit wintertime yet?
Some days it feels like it. We had a stretch there where we were getting down into the high 30s probably at night, hovering in the 50s during the day, but today we got back up into the 70s. So
I can't mess with that. That's just too cold.
You never
already.
know.
It's just too cold.
I love
for
it.
Me. So for those that might just have started listening to us or tuning in tonight out there in Facebook and YouTube world, tell everybody a little bit about yourself and how you got into roasting specialty coffee.
Sure. My name is Brian Keezer, as you already said, but I live in Hampton, Maine, and we are a small batch coffee roasting company. And we've been running since, I think, 2015 is when Unrest Coffee began. And my wife and I actually purchased the company just over a year ago. I think about a year and a half, maybe, give or take. It was in June of 2019 that we took over from a close friend of mine and who I'd been helping out do a little bit of stuff here and there, helping him with his website and stuff like that. But so really, we got into coffee just kind of really naturally and organically. We started roasting at home. Some friends of ours was roasting coffee, and she kind of told me that you could do it at home. And I was like, that just blew my mind. I never really thought about that. I was big into like home beer brewing and those types of things, but I'd never really got into coffee until I didn't even know it was an option. So we looked into that. I saved up some money and bought like a little Be More roaster. A lot of home roasters know what that is, and it looks like a toaster oven with a little drum inside that roasts. And that's really where I got my start, was just doing that and ordering beans from Sweet Maria's, just figuring out like what all the different origins are and kind of what different coffees taste like from around the world. And then just did that for a number of years off and on until I met my friend Micah, who owned Unrest Coffee before we did, and really started to figure out kind of more the commercial side of it and how he was doing it. And then just kind of spiraled from there, and he was looking to get done. I was looking to get started, and it was kind of a match from there on out.
And when you started, let me pull myself back up here on it. And when you started You were originally on a wood-fired
Yeah.
coffee roaster, if I remember
So
correctly.
so when Unrest started, it was really over like a wood fire is where he began, and then that kind of shifted, and it's a really cool way to roast a small amount of coffee. But then once you start picking up clients, you have to roast more and more coffee. He created like a larger scale, kind of, it looked like a charcoal grill type setup that he made and rigged with a drum that he created and kind of built himself. And so when I took over last summer, that's how I was starting roasting. I built my own kind of roaster and was roasting coffee over charcoal, um, and kind of took the reins from him. And that's how we started. And probably the first 5 or 6 months or so, we were roasting over charcoal. And it produced like great coffee. I loved kind of what we were doing, but it was very limited in how you can roast that way. And it didn't offer a lot of the control that I really wanted to get over coffee, and to kind of dial in those different nuances that all these different origins produce in their coffee. And so um, that mixed with some rainy days, and some toast, ruining a couple batches here and there, that I was like, this isn't going to scale. So um, in I think late August, early September last year, we bought a 5 kilogram commercial roaster. So we roast, it's a drum roaster. And so we've been doing that for just a year now, actually. So just a year and like a couple weeks. We've been roasting kind of on a traditional drum roaster. So it's been
So,
quite the learning curve, but it's been
so,
fun.
so how did you go about? So, how established was the Unrest brand when you decided to take it over? How many customers do you think you had at that point?
Um, we had, a number of, there's probably 4 or 5 different um, local places, like retail places, um, is what we had at the time. And then we didn't really have a website. It was kind of running a little bit, but it wasn't, we weren't pushing it real heavily. Orders, we'd go like a couple week or two without ever getting an online order. So it was, just in its infancy stage of like, kind of the online world. Um, so it was manageable at that point. But once we picked up any new clients from a retail side, it kind of got tougher to maintain over a charcoal setup. So
Were you worried at all about like the brand identity? And the reason I'm asking these questions
yeah.
is, a lot of times you get, and I've talked to a couple roasters out there that uh, they were roasting coffee on their own, and they came across, you know, a roaster that had been in business for 15, 20 years already, and that roaster was transitioning out of being a
Mm,
roaster. Or they wanted to retire or semi-retire. They didn't want to run the show anymore. And what was your concern about taking over that brand
yeah.
and running it? If you know what I'm at, I mean, does that make
I think
sense?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, that first couple months, my goal was to just maintain. And I wanted people who were drinking Unrest coffee to continue drinking Unrest coffee and not notice that anything changed. That if you didn't know that I purchased the company, that you just wouldn't know. And so I wanted to kind of maintain that flavor, the profiles, and all of that stuff. And so we did that for the first few months. And then once I started to kind of want to really, make a run at this, and to look at scaling it, I quickly realized we need to move away from the charcoal setup. And so a big thought in that, and as I talked to different, mentors of mine and different business owners and other areas of business, not other coffee roasters, because I really didn't know anybody. Um, I worried, like, will this change the taste of our coffee? And I I knew that it might, but I felt like we were small enough at the time that I could make that transition and not have to worry too much. And also, a little piece of our story is I work full time for a healthcare system. So coffee is our side gig. So I could make that sort of transition. And even if we lost 50% of our customers, or even if I lost 80%, it wouldn't like affect my livelihood because coffee was kind of the side show, I guess you could say, or the side hustle. So, I was willing to take that risk, and then, but I made a lot of changes kind of along the way. Like the original company was really focused on just really one origin. We roasted Papua New Guinea, and that was it, for the most part. So, which is a pretty forgiving bean, and most of the stuff that he did or we did was medium and dark roasted. So it was honestly, once we went to a drum roaster, I felt like the coffee didn't change at all. It got a little bit better maybe because the quality, the control was more consistent. I could, you know, consistently roast the same profile over and over, where charcoal, you're balancing the temperature so inconsistently and trying to, but it made it more difficult. So it it was kind of a big worry at the start, but once we started rolling with it, I realized that we were making some good decisions, and people seemed to follow suit with it from there. So
Well, that's awesome. Um, did you already have the commercial contracts or not contracts, but your grocery stores that you're in right now and your shops during that transition, or did those come afterwards?
yeah, most we've kind of, it's funny, we've picked up a few and then we lost a few, just for varying reasons, and then COVID happened,
Yeah.
and that took a few others away. So we're kind of in a weird state where I feel like we've got a few less clients than I had this time last year, but like retail kind of clients, but the ones that we do have are kind of picked up. So it's been an interesting kind of transition there, and I feel like our business looks a lot different than it did last year at this time, with a lot of different clients. But in our website, it's our online orders have picked up a lot over the past 5, 6, 7 months with online and people staying in and all of that stuff. So that's been kind of nice
Now,
to see that.
one thing that I like about how you approach things, and I don't know, we've talked about it a little bit
Mm.
on the side, but you do or you did have some kind of unique clients that you were working with. You were working with the seasonal farm. I forget the name of it. I think you said that they had been impacted by COVID last time I talked to you. But then tell me about the ice cream shop. And was that hey, I'm going to go in here and see if I can sell them some coffee, or was that something? Tell us
Yeah,
about how you approached that.
yeah. So we to just the first one. So one of our clients is a farm in Deer Isle, which called the Yellow Birch Farm. So they have like I call it a farm stand, but it's not like what a lot of people might think of as a farm stand. Like it's a substantial building. You go in and they have a ton of produce that they harvest right there on their farm, and a lot of products made with goat milk and stuff like that. So they were a client that we picked up right at the beginning of us taking it over, and they've slowed a little bit. They're still ordering, but they've been affected by this whole thing. But they're still ordering coffee here and there. And then the ice cream, kind of, I can't really even remember. I feel like there was just a day where I was like, let's do some weird stuff. I don't know. And so I was like, emailing breweries and trying to let's get a beer made. I think I had a friend of mine, is a big home brewer, and he like brews some super good beer. And so I gave him some coffee and was like, hey, here's a bunch of coffee, brew some beer, and then just give me a couple bottles just for fun. And so after that, I was like, oh, let's see where else we could take this. And so I contacted a local ice cream place, that does that. They've been around for like over 100 years. And a kid, I say he's a kid, he's not a kid, but a guy purchased the ice cream shop, like his senior year of high school. And he's totally like transformed it and really grown it a lot over the past like 2 years, I think, since he's owned it. So I got in contact with him and I was like, hey, if you ever need some coffee for like a coffee ice cream or something, let me know. I'd love to, work something out. And so he loved the idea, and I just brought some coffee up and left it with him and let him kind of experiment. And so he made a cold brew coffee ice cream. And so he's been running with that. This summer it was a big hit. He said it was like their number one selling milkshake was the cold brew milkshake. So, but yeah, we've just been trying to find different ways to sell coffee outside of just, a 12-ounce bag of coffee to someone to drink at home. So that's how that kind of came about. And we're still looking for other, I'd love to, I got a brewery that I'm working with right now that I'm hoping to get something in a beer soon, but we'll see how that goes.
It's all that thinking outside of the box. And, even if you go for, like, say, wholesale, you give them to a wholesale price, and you're like, hey, put my label and my webs, or put my branding and my label all on your label, and get me FaceTime,
Yeah,
get me out there. It's every time that you're able to get in front of somebody's face in a different way is
definitely.
just a phenomenal way of getting your brand
Yeah.
recognition out
And
there.
it's like a neat way, with especially like ice cream and beer and stuff like that. A lot of those, um, I've realized that it doesn't take a lot of coffee to make a lot of ice cream, and so it's not a ton of coffee. So, a lot of times I feel like we just barter and be like, hey, I'll give you coffee. If you just throw my logo on there, we'll give you coffee for this. Or, it's good advertising, like you said, just to get your name out there and um,
Do
get
y'all
that
sell do
share.
y'all sell bag coffee at the ice cream shop too? Do they sell any bag coffee?
Yeah. So one of our kind of top clients right now is a local. It's a hard. It's fun. It's a local hardware store that has an ice cream shop and like a coffee shop in it as well, like on the side. And so, kind of around the same time that the cold brew ice cream came out, that coffee shop or that hardware store switched their ice cream vendor over to Spencer's Ice Cream, which is the ice cream that makes our cold brew. So it was kind of like a match made in heaven that they also brew our coffee there and sell our coffee by the bag at this hardware store. And then they also sell Spencer's Ice Cream, which has our cold brew ice cream in there too. So that's been really cool, like to kind of see all that come to fruition.
It's like a
Um,
triple threat of Unrest coffee and ice
yeah,
cream. Yeah, it
you
sounds
go there,
amazing.
everything's Unrest Coffee in there.
Do you sell hats and
No,
T-shirts there as well? You should if you're not.
we don't, not there, but we do have some hats. I'm rocking one right now, right there,
Love it.
showing off my awesome haircut.
It's the COVID-19 cut, man. At least
Right.
you
Yeah, there you go.
at least you have hair. For those listeners that did not just witness that, I have zero hair. Or as my daughter likes to say, Dad, you don't have hair. You have a spike head.
Spike head.
Spike head. Yeah, so that's awesome. It looks like
That's
Chris
awesome.
Stevens says, Brian.
Oh, it's my guy Chris, fellow Celtics lover.
How are they doing this year so far?
I don't even want to talk about it. They're terrible. No, they're breaking my heart left and right. It's been me and my wife we're diehard Celtics fans, so they're in the Eastern Conference Finals. So you got to be happy with that. But it's been a rough series, and we were talking about it, my wife and I, that usually like when you go into a series like this, like when we played the 76ers, not to go all basketball on you, but there's some players on that team that I just despise. And I do not enjoy seeing their faces. I don't enjoy seeing them play basketball. But the Miami Heat just has nice guys on that team. And I've like last night they had a kid. He's 20 years old. He's a rookie. Like went off. He had like 37 points, and Miami Heat deserved to win that game. And I was like, you know what? I hope we don't win this game because he is playing phenomenal, and the Celtics are terrible right now. So
So,
it's a
so,
struggle.
so back to coffee, back away from the sports. Uh, but I have a Celtics jersey somewhere that my buddy from
Oh,
Boston got. I mean, way
there you
back in
go.
the day, way back in the day. Uh, but tell me about your current lineup. So you're still doing a lot of Papua New Guinea. You've got
Yeah.
you got a local green source that you drive down and get from. I think you're still driving down and getting it. You've
Yep.
added Excelsior Endeavor. That's it,
Endeavor. Yeah.
Endeavor. And then you've got a single origin Kenyan. And then it's fall, so you've got your Haynesville, your woods,
Haynesville
right?
Woods.
So tell me about that one. Is that another spiced? Is that a
It
fall spice?
is. Yeah. So it's so we started out doing a winter blend, which had like some cinnamon and some nutmeg in there, and people just like loved it. That's like one of our number one sellers. And so when fall came around last year, we were like, hey, we should tap into that market and see what else we could do. And I don't like most flavored coffee. I'm not a fan of like the oils and all that stuff that it takes to flavor coffee, and it always smells amazing, but it never tastes as good as it smells. And you go on message boards, and if you even type the question of how do you flavor coffee, you'll just get you know blasted, because that's like the cardinal sin of coffee roasting is flavoring coffee. But we came up with we call it Haynesville Woods, and it's basically like a fall. I don't want to say it's a pumpkin spice coffee, um, but it would have all the same spices that pumpkin spice would have in it. So it's got cinnamon and nutmeg and some clove and some ginger in there, and it's all organic, real spice that we add to the ground coffee. And so it's not artificial flavors or anything like that, and it has a real subtle kind of flavor to it, and people like really really enjoy it. So that's like our number one seller right now. And like you said, we've been trying to experiment more. It's funny, like our big three, I call them, is our Allagash, our Baxter, and Blue Hill, which are all made with Papua New Guinea. They're all like varying degrees. Like one's a dark roast, one's a medium, and then Blue Hill is a medium roast with chaga in it, ground chaga. And so it's like I've been wanting to get more diverse in our offerings and try to get into some of those single origins, but our clientele that we primarily sell to, like, they just love the Papua New Guinea. And so it's been kind of a slow process trying to introduce more variety to our lineup. Like, I get real excited and I want to order beans from here and here and go nuts with it, but it doesn't sell quite as fast with our clientele that we primarily sell to. So we've been trying to take it slow. Endeavor is our first true blend that we've done. It's got Colombian and Sumatra in it, and it's nice and dark. That one's been a real crowd pleaser. We sell a lot of dark roast up here. Like I said, like, we haven't tapped into the real specialty, third wave light roasting that a lot of specialty roasters are doing. We haven't quite gotten into that, and just don't have the market for it at the moment.
Right.
But so we're trying some things. I did get some Ethiopian Yirgacheffe in to kind of play around with and develop a profile for that. So that hopefully will be coming soon.
That's cool.
Um,
So would you
yeah.
say that's a regional thing? Is there not a lot of third wave coffee in Maine, or just in your geographical area that you primarily serve?
I think I'm not really sure. I think there are people out there that enjoy a good light roast and more of those fruity flavors and stuff like that. But I don't know if it's because Dunkin' Donuts is so heavy up here that people just love dark, burnt tasting coffee.
Yeah.
I don't know, but um,
Well,
it's definitely been, it's like I want to push us more into the light roast realms, um, but it's not where we're at this moment. So
yeah, I mean, if you're not roasting it to sell it, I mean, if you're buying a
yeah,
pound of Yogi Chef to roast for yourself, then that's totally different because you don't have a market for it. There's
yeah,
I was talking to Adrian from the a couple weeks ago about the Swiss Alps or the what was it, Swiss Alps coffee roasting company. I talked, he's from Norway, and they have the Nordic roast, and he spoke specifically about, he's like, that's the flavor profile of all the foods. They're very acidic, they're very, pickled.
mm,
That's the flavor profile that the country is used to and the region is used to. So it might be one of those things that it's just a regional
yeah,
flavor. That's what they like, and I'm sure you go anywhere that's not really adapted to the third wave, the fresh roasted coffee, you're going to see a lot of medium to dark, to
yeah,
really dark roast coffee, because that's what everybody's been brought up to tell you that's what
right.
is good and what you need to drink and everything. And your Sarah Keezer
It's my
says,
mom.
tell them about your awesome decaf.
Yeah. So I have one loyal decaf customer, which is my dad. And so I pay him in coffee pretty much. And
Good.
so
That's good.
to help me with projects and stuff. But we, it's funny. It's in all business, that people will say,
So we got some new
oh, that's
pajamas in
awesome.
here. So she's going to come say, you want to say hi to everybody?
Yeah.
Hey,
Say hi to Mr. Brian.
I don't have headphones.
I know you don't have headphones. Go back to your mama.
Hi, Miss
love the
Alex.
pajamas.
Look at my skeleton. I got a glow.
She's a
Oh,
skeleton.
wow.
She's going to grow.
That's
Hang on
awesome.
just a second. Christina?
I'm taking over the Roasters Marketplace podcast here.
Yeah, right. It's one or the other. It's one of them. Come on.
I know, you're right there. And you guys see-
Hang on, Brian. It's your show.
I get it. I got kids too. They're
I know.
probably bouncing
Wait,
off the
what?
walls upstairs.
How's your day?
So we don't know where
Good.
mom. We don't. How was your day? We don't know where mom is. So she's fixing to start turning off lights on me and everything.
That's awesome.
But tell me about your kids.
Yeah, so I got 3 kids: Jude, Lucy, and Lennon. They're Jude is 10, Lucy is 8, and Lennon is 3.5. She'll be 4 in December, and they're wild.
Yeah, and they're
Kids.
named after Beatles
The Beatles.
songs.
They
The Beatles.
are.
Yeah.
And fun fact, Lennon was born on the day John Lennon was assassinated.
I'm sure y'all didn't plan that one.
Actually, we didn't plan that one, but it just happened. It was kind of weird.
It was weird. All right, cool. Hey, so we've got a question here from John. I'm going to put it up on the screen. It says, how's Unrest setting itself apart from the other newer roasting brands popping up?
Yeah, that's a difficult question. That's a good question. How are we setting to, set ourselves apart? I think really just trying to come up with different blends and profiles and coffee that tastes. I think that's the beautiful thing about coffee. It's a lot like, craft breweries and craft beers that, I can roast a coffee from the same origin that, another roaster can roast, and we'll have 2 very different profiles. And they'll taste, similar in a lot of ways, but very different in a lot of other ways. So that's been kind of fun, just trying to, do that, but also support other coffee roasters and know that, there's going to be roasters that pop up all the time, and we do our best to continue to provide great coffee, but and try to provide different coffee than other people might source and create some different blends that other people aren't offering. And
when you look at your demographic, so let's say where you're shipping to. So you get orders from me and you're shipping, East Coast, West Coast, you're shipping to Texas. I've got a couple customers that are subscribed to your tea. Speaking of which, he needs to get on there and fix his address because we have to correct that every time.
Right. I memorized it now.
Yeah, I know. I should fix it. I should just go in there and fix it. But would you say most of your current customers are geographically located in your direct area in Maine, in your region?
Well, it's really hard to say. I mean, we sell to some local retailers, real local to us in Bangor, Brewer, and Hamden, which are like, all within a few miles of each other. But our online, it's very diverse throughout Maine, but also I've been shipping to Massachusetts quite a bit. I've had a number this week. I feel like I don't know if there's like an ad running somewhere or what, but we've been hitting California a lot this past week. So we've been sending some coffee out there, and it's really like, I feel like you could just throw a dart and there hasn't been a whole lot of consistency in where we sell, but Maine is a big, probably our top is in Maine, but not really located centrally. But if you're going to buy our coffee and you live in town, you're not going to order it online. You're going to go pick it up at a store probably instead of paying shipping. But yeah.
Do y'all offer any local delivery, or do you just mainly to the grocery stores and the hardware
we do
store?
offer some, like if I know you, I do like a local pickup. We have some like the local pickup option if you're close nearby, or even if I don't know you, but you contact us somehow, we can schedule a local pickup. And we've been trying to really push subscriptions. That's kind of been my focus as of the last couple weeks, is to really beef up our subscription offering and to make it like a really robust feature and something to kind of get people rallied around to try to get more and more of those customers. Hopefully within the next like week or two, we're going to do a big push for subscribers and give away a free t-shirt for all new subscribers, which would be kind of nice. I hope bring in some more consistent revenue that way. And
I want to touch on that. And if you want to talk about your experience, we went through a couple months ago, I guess it was. So you were on, and this is going to, hit home for a lot of roasters out there that aren't in the web space area, that aren't familiar with different stuff. But so you were on WooCommerce, you were on WordPress. Let's talk about that issue.
Yes.
So what kept on happening with your subscriptions?
So, and I know, so I'm like a new coffee roaster. I'm a new small business owner. I'm learning the ropes of all this stuff. And I am not a web developer. I've dabbled and I'm pretty tech savvy. And I can click around and I can Google and I can YouTube anything, who can't? So I kind of went with WordPress and WooCommerce, and because I'd used it before in an endeavor that I kind of went down, and so I knew that it has the flexibility to do like whatever you really want, as long as you can find the right plugins for it. So we built the website, and I started. I wanted to do subscriptions, and I tried a few different plugins, trying my hardest to avoid the WooCommerce subscription plugin. It's like $300. And finally I succumbed to it and said, I've got to get it. They had a sale, so I bought it. And I struggled. I don't know if it was my template or my theme that I had on my website or what, but I would get subscribers to subscribe to coffee, and then they'd be on like an every other week cycle, and their day would come up and I would not get a new order. And it wouldn't renew automatically like it was all set up to. It just wouldn't renew. And so some of them would, some of them wouldn't. It was very sporadic. Tons of support tickets. worked with them a bunch, and then they finally were like, yeah, you need to, completely rebuild your website, like do a backup website and rebuild it, and like take all your plugins out. And I was like, I don't know how to do that, and I don't know how to do that quickly. And that's gonna, I pay you $200 a year for support of this. So I got real frustrated, and I just canned it. I said, you know what, I'm done. I'm tired of losing, money on this and paying a lot for it. So I scratched that, went to Squarespace, and I've been there for a couple months. Totally not satisfied with that. It excels in like ease of use for a website, but their e-commerce is just not where it needs to be. It's kind of a band-aid, if anything, that they provide you. Their subscription service is junk. It's just not robust. It's very cumbersome. It's not user friendly for like your customers. So I'm probably going to jump ship from that and go into Shopify here pretty soon. And I think I'll end and land there. This is my hope. So, but
it's definitely a challenge if you don't have, if that's not your thing, or if you don't have a robust support system. If I can't figure it out on my website, I have people I can call that I say, hey, I don't know what's happening. This is broke. Can you fix it? And it might cost me some money to do that, but it's done, and I'm a little bit different than you, because on that side of the house, I only have web sales. So if it stops, we've got problems. But one of the things I've definitely noticed is if there's a glitch on your subscription, you're probably not going to get that customer back.
It's tough.
You can keep somebody and it keep on rolling and rolling and rolling. They'll just keep on getting that product. They'll keep on getting that coffee because it's coming. It's coming every time that they need it, and it shows up like clockwork. But the second there's an issue with that subscription, then it's like you have to totally resell them on that product. Sometimes, I've lost a couple subs early on. I think the biggest issue I had recently was, somebody changed their credit card, and then they went back in and they didn't change it in the right spot because I'm not sure where they changed it, but they said, hey, I changed it and it wasn't working. And so all I did was cancel it and restart it and send them basically send them an invoice and said, hey, pay this, and to start it back up. And that worked because, a lot of the times if you've got somebody onto your website, they might not make that purchase the first time they're on the website. Right. They might not make the purchase the sixth time that they go to your website. And so just losing that one sub is a big deal.
Most of my subscribers, and I don't have many, I get just a few right now, are people that I personally know. And so it's been good because, when I switched from WordPress to Squarespace, I had to, put my tail between my legs and email them all and say, hey, I'm canceling your subscription. This is why. I'd appreciate it, if you continue on, but if not, I appreciate you, taking the time and all that stuff. So most of them signed back up, which was great. And so it's hard, but I haven't wanted to like really push it super hard because I know that there's a good chance I'm going to have to jump ship because it's just doesn't have the features that I know that they're going to want and need. And so it's hard, but that's business, is kind of learning some things that we're not used to learning. And I'm kind of in that fit, like you said, like for a while, I've kind of neglected the website side of things and just kind of coasted along. And, like I feel like you're that guy that I am, or I message them like, hey, how do you do this? Or what is SEO? Why do I have to do that? And you're like telling me all these things in articles, and I'm like, oh, maybe I do need to like look into that a little bit, because as we've seen from March on, my web traffic just kind of like went up, and if I'm not prepared to like take those people that are giving me their time and attention to capitalize on that, then why even have a website? So
it's a difficult, you get into that whole. There's people that make a lot of money in just SEO.
yeah,
Just that's their career field. There's entire companies that do, SEO, and it's figuring out, hey, where do I need to have I went into Google and updated everything, so Google, instead of just seeing my homepage, just Google see my whole entire website. Just all this stuff, and it is, it's not just like you fix it and it instantly happens. It's you fix it, and then it has to get established, and your website has to be crawled, and it has to be good experience, and it grows and it grows and it grows. And so you can look at something and say, hey, I fixed this, and now I've got backlinks where I need it, and I need all this stuff. Now let's wait for 3 months.
and
And
then
then
it
all
will
of a
show
sudden
up.
you see your spikes, you see,
Yeah,
different things. And one of the things I tell other roasters that I talk to a lot is get on your local news network, get on your local your e-magazine. And I've had this conversation with you before, and get featured or get on another podcast, because that gets your website listed in more places, and Google sees that. And now, instead of, Roasters Marketplace pointing back to Brian, it's, 60 different pages now pointing back to you, which brings your SEO score up. It's a whole nother ball game, man. But that's one thing that you can do as a small roaster to get your those links that build your SEO, that get, because if you're not throwing a lot of money at Google, you're not showing up on the front page. Not until, I can guarantee, if I was in Bangor and I typed in, coffee roaster near me, I'd still get a whole bunch of listings that weren't even near me, and you'd be 6 down on the page.
Yeah,
because that's just how it works, unless you're throwing money at Google. But yeah, that's a whole nother ball game, man.
Someday, we'll pay someone to do all that for me. But today it's me.
Yeah, today you learn a lot when it's you. I'm here to tell you that is for sure.
Yeah.
And it's when you're roasting it, when you're having to do all that work. And I asked for you to I asked to see if your lovely wife could be on, but she's busy putting the kids in bed. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I would make a comment, but I'm not going to make a comment about my kids running in here. Anyway, but Gretchen, she does a lot of your delivery for you, right?
She does, yeah. She does a lot of our deliveries. We have a little run down to Belfast, which is like a 45-minute drive or so. There's a donut shop down there that sells our coffee, and we do I don't know if you call it a white label blend for them, but they have their own like signature blend that we roast for them. And so she goes down there about every other week or so, depending on how they do with coffee. And so she does that, and a lot of other places around town. She's usually the one delivering, especially with me working from home now. It's been kind of nice because, during the day, if we have to take an order somewhere, she can take it, and I'm home, so the kids can be home and fend for themselves. They don't have to be watched the whole time, but just to have someone here, that's been kind of nice. And she does a lot of the packaging stuff for us too, and even we did a whole bag redesign to kind of streamline our bags a little bit. Here's one here, a little sample. And she really does, took this whole label on and kind of figured out to resize it and Photoshop and all that stuff. So she's kind of a learner, just like I am. She's willing to jump in and figure stuff out. So she's been a huge part of what we do.
What was your decision process in going from the one bag? Because you used to have a taller, you were basically, you were in a bag exactly
similar,
like this,
yeah.
right? But you switched to the more squarish
Yeah. Oh man, there's a million different bags out there,
Yeah.
and it's a pain. It's a headache. And so we started, with the craft bags that everyone starts out with, and then we went to those tall bags like you had showed there. And I love the Ziploc feature on those. I think that's great. Um, but they're so tall. And there's like a small kind of organic grocery store that we sell our coffee in, and they have a few other coffee brands in there too. And like our coffee just like looked weird in there because the bag is just so tall compared to everybody else's, which you could kind of think about like, oh, it stands out, but it stood out for a reason that I didn't like. And so um, I wanted to get away from those, but I also wanted to cut some costs. Those cost more than the bags that we now use. And then the labels that we were using were really tall labels to kind of take up real estate.
Mm-hmm.
So, and where we were getting those printed, we switched up our labels. So now we're doing two different stickers, but it's like half the price that we were paying. So it's worked out really well. Like we've been able to drop our packaging price down, but I also like really like the size and the shape of these. And they have the valve on the back still, and they have like a tin tie and everything. So
Okay.
it just feels better. It ships a lot easier. I can ship two of these in a box. I used to ship one in. It's been kind of nice. But what a headache trying to find bag samples and which company do you order from and all that stuff. So it's been interesting.
And Terry says that's my girl. I guess she commented that when we were talking about Gretchen.
Yeah, that's my mother-in-law.
That's awesome. Got the whole crew watching tonight. I appreciate that. Thanks
That's
for
right.
the support for everybody tuning in and watching me, listening to me talk to Brian here and watching my kids go crazy. The bag thing though is really interesting. Do you know what your per bag cost is? Like what is that breakdown without coffee in it? What is
Yeah.
it? What is your packaging cost at?
We're close to $1.
Okay.
Right around there. My goal is to eventually get like a hot stamp for the top that's pre-printed on there. But we had some troubles with, I like the matte black finish, and it's hard to get a white hot stamp on a matte black because it's prone to smudging and stuff like that. So, but yeah, right around $1. I think we're like in the 90, 94, 92 cents, I think, for the whole package.
And I think that's a really important thing that maybe a small scale roaster might not be looking at at the level they're at. Well, I'm only buying this many bags, I'm not really moving it. But that's important, knowing what your per bag cost is when it comes down to it, because you got to factor that in. If you're not factoring in, you're losing money each time. And just the shipping cost and the different ways that you can get that bag to somewhere is so important. And that's one
shipping
of the things.
I hate it. It grosses me out how much it costs to ship a bag of coffee.
Yeah.
And I have no control over that. You know what I mean? It's like, it's crazy.
And you can watch people. I can watch people on my abandoned cart knowing that they've left because they saw that $5 shipping fee, even though there's 15 different ways on my website that you can get free shipping on that bag of coffee. But they get on there and they're like, well, I'm fixing to spend $14 on a bag of coffee, but it's $5 to ship it. Well, yeah, it is. And then
and you know what? It costs probably more than $5 to actually ship it.
Yeah,
a lot of times.
Yeah, so it's all depending on where it's going, how you're getting it there, and that overall weight. And it's such an important factor to break down. And I keep on telling myself, hey, Chris, you need to figure this all out for Brian. What's Brian's 3 bags cost for Brian, because he's putting in X envelope and it's this dimensions and it's this way. And I keep on telling myself I need to do that, but
it's tricky. I shipped 3 or 4 bags or two, I think it was like 3 bags of coffee and maybe a bag of tea to California, which is, if you know geography, I'm in Maine. That's the complete opposite side of the country. And there is no cheap way to do that. I mean, that's like 11, almost $12 for me to ship that. And so uh, I hate that, but
We
they got to
need
make a living.
we need to talk after we get off here on some different tricks of the trade on that one for sure. You know,
Let's do it.
I was I was shipping some 5-pounders this week,
Yeah.
and it just blew me away that I could ship 5 pounds from basically Indiana to Kansas. Okay, so it's not going that far,
Hmm.
but I was still shipping it for almost the same amount that I was shipping from where was the farthest out I sent from Pennsylvania to Kansas. Like, just because I knew, like, I had box dimensions and I
Yeah.
had the weight down, and I knew which box that I needed to sit that 5 pounds in. But then I can turn around and end up having to ship 2 bags from, Maine to California, and it's going to cost me as much as that 5-pound bag because I didn't have the dimensions for it. Wasn't able to stick it in the right box. Or if it's, where does those weight fluctuations really change?
Yeah. It
Uh,
and like, I go back and forth on, do I want, like cool boxes that are, plain white box and put my stamp on it and do all that, or do I want to get the free, U.S. Postal Service regional A boxes that are free to me and I don't have to pay for a box?
yeah.
It's like,
Well,
and
you're paying for the box. It's just
you're paying for the boxes, yeah.
you just don't
But
feel like you're paying for the box.
yeah, it's just I go through all these, and I feel like every once in a while I hop on the post office website and I'm just like, give me all your free boxes. And then a lot of times I'll be like, okay, I got this to ship. What would it cost if I put it in this box? Okay, what if I put it in this box? Or what if I even, sometimes it might be cheaper to put it into 2 separate shipping. If you do them both first class, it might be cheaper than doing a
Yep.
bigger box. So I look at you sometimes, I'm just like, I don't know how he's doing that. Like, how does he, have a customer buy coffee from 3 different roasters at the same time? How does Chris deal with that
It's
shipping?
it's magic.
It's something.
It's I don't make any money, Brian. That's
I'm actually paying to run my business. So
sometimes, but there's different ways of doing it. I move a little bit of coffee on this through ShipStation. I get really good rates. I know where I can look at my weights at and keep my weights at. And there's a few things that you can do, but when you move, your rates go better the more volume you use on some plans. And so I'm not near that, but
yeah,
when you look at it, and I'll use, my other day job as an example, we'll ship 1,000 packages this week. But sometimes we lose money on this package when we ship it because we charge $4.99 for this weight, and it cost us $5.12. But you go up 2 pounds and we're charging $8.99, and you're making that dollar back. And so you kind of got to look at different things on it and say, okay, where can I, level out the playing field? And it's, people look at that shipping cost, and you'll have people complain that they're ordering something that costs $1,600, and there's, is there any way I can not pay the $5.99 in shipping?
I know.
It's not coming to me, man. It's definitely not coming to me. It's going to the post office or UPS. That money's not coming to me. It's to get that part to you. But thank you, Amazon.
Right. I was just to say,
getting everybody thinking that they're getting free shipping when, okay, you pay $100-something a year for Prime membership.
Yeah.
Everything there is marked up, even though you think it's the best price.
Amazon ruined that. I mean, I feel like people don't even, there's probably people out there that think that it doesn't actually cost any money to ship a package because of Amazon. And I'm guilty of it. And I go on Amazon. If I have to pay shipping, nope.
You go to a different product.
I'm
right?
finding the Prime version
Yeah,
somewhere.
you show the Prime version, and it's much cheaper for Amazon now that they've got their own freaking jets, man.
Yeah.
That they fly stuff around on, but it's
So.
cheaper for them to do it, and that's why he's got more money than almost anybody else, right?
That's right.
It's crazy, but yeah, thanks for making everybody think that shipping's free. It's a challenge.
It is.
But it's a good idea that you have is get your packages and see what they cost. Lay out 3 bags, and that's why I haven't had a box yet. That's why there's not a Roasters Marketplace box, because I have Brian in Maine that's got a 14-inch tall bag of coffee, and then somebody else it's 6 inches. There's such a varying difference in the size of packages that work for people, and how it gets there. That if you had a set bunch of packages, I'd say just get a box and start. Okay, hey, 2 packages always go in this, 2 packages go in this, 3 go in here. One's first class all the way.
That's basically, I'm like bubble mailer. If it's 1 bag first class, I got like a box for 2 bags, and then I have my box for 3. And then if you get more than 3, I got to scramble through my packages I've ordered off Amazon probably and scrounge one of those boxes.
So that's a good point. Tell me, because we've got a few minutes left here. Tell me about bubble mailers, because I get this question all the time, and I tell people when I talk to another roaster, I'm like, yeah, stick it in a bubble mailer, stick it in even one of those poly envelopes, like a t-shirt envelope.
This is This is my bubble mailer. I got more coming in this week that are a little bit smaller, because I went overkill on this. But like, if I just have 1
2 in there,
I don't know if I could fit 2.
If you're determined, can you fit 2?
I probably could fit 2 in this thing. Yeah, I could fit 2. It just feels weird though. I don't know. I don't know if I kind of feel like I should put a little note in the next package that I ship out in one of these and just say, can you take a picture and send it back to me of what this looks like? But usually, like, if I ship out 1 bag, I'm putting it down the bottom, and then I actually have to give you a little demonstration. I fold it up so it ends up looking like that, and it's kind of double, but that's the way I do single bags, because it's so much cheaper to go with a bubble mailer than a box.
So in my experience, shipping a whole lot of packages, it doesn't matter what you put it in. USPS is going to destroy it at some point in time. You can put it in a triple wall. We get photos of stuff this is not the coffee, but it looks like, like, what did you do? Did you run it over with the mail truck and then like tape it back together? We get that, but coffee wise, I've had, we've shipped over 1,000 bags easy at this point.
That's awesome.
But I can count on one hand how many bags were damaged in transit, and U.S. Customs did one of them coming from Guatemala. They cut open the bag to check it for whatever, then they taped it and sent it on to the guy. And luckily, it was somebody I was in Iraq with.
Oh man!
Because he messaged me. He's like, Chris, somebody, it looks like Customs cut it up on a coffee and then they taped it back together.
Oh my gosh!
I got you, dude. I got you. And we sent him more coffee, but for that, and then we had one shipment that went out in a much too big of a box, and so it rattled around in there and came undone and was unsealed when the shipment got there. So I got a ton of roasters that ship in poly mailers. I got or envelopes up until you get to the bigger envelopes where you can't fit 2 bags in there. And then Tim from Evansville, he's got nice little boxes that his box fits right down. They're not labeled, or they're not branded. His tape is branded, which looks nice. And then you've got Chris over at Rivet. He's got really nice boxes. His boxes were on the SCA website. They're beautiful.
Yeah.
So
it's tough. Like, I feel like you got to pick and choose what you're gonna. Yeah, I ordered a box. So typically, like you mentioned, real quick, I get my green coffee from an importer who runs a coffee shop. I mean a coffee roastery down like an hour away from me. So he brings up coffee from New Jersey all the time, and so I kind of tack on to what he's importing a lot of the time. It's just like I pay a fraction of what it would cost to get a pallet delivered to my house or
Yeah.
whatever. So that's where I get most of our coffee from. But I ordered a bag from Olam Specialty Coffee, and if you get one bag, they'll send it FedEx, and it was like a decent price. So I was like, hey, I just want one bag. I just want to try this out. I'm working on an espresso. And so I got that shipped, and you should have seen the guy when he dropped that off, like 160-pound bag in a box. He was like, what is this? It was like a dead body. I mean, the thing, there's no easy way to move it. And it looked like it had been through the ringer. Like, I mean, to move a box that weighs 160 pounds, but the bag was all intact inside of it. But he's like, is that really coffee in there? And I was like, it sure is.
That's awesome.
But
That's awesome. Well,
I felt bad.
Tell everybody that's out there watching and listening where we can find you, where we can find Unrest Coffee at.
Yes, we're on the Instagram, Facebook, but you can find us at www.unrestcoffee.com. And of course, our good friends at Roasters Marketplace as well.
There you go. Hey, Brian, thanks for coming on the show. It's always a good time. Tell Gretchen I said thank you for letting me borrow you for an hour tonight, man.
I will.
And I'm going to drop you off, and I'll hit you back up in the green room right quick.
All right, take care.
All right, thanks. All right, everybody who tuned in to listen to me and Brian talk about shipping coffee. We really appreciate it. We really appreciate your support. Thanks for listening. Give us a review. Let us know how you like the show in the comments. Hit us up on the Common Grounds podcast on YouTube, on the Roasters Marketplace Facebook, or the Common Grounds Facebook channel. You can find us on any major podcasting app, iTunes, Spotify, everywhere. We're out there. Next week, we've got some good shows coming up. Really, really interesting. I'm going to be talking to one of the, I think he's the CCO of Curve. I think I'm saying it right. A Canadian company that makes coffee accessories. That's coming out on October 1st. Is that show. And we've got a bunch of different stuff lined up for October. So thanks for tuning in. We broke 1,000 downloads this week on our podcast. So thanks for all the support. We're going to roll it out with a little Dom Coors.